Good afternoon, class. We thank God for today again as we gather for our lecture. In today's lecture, we are going to look at this topic, tri-balance. We're looking at tri-balance. Now, as a means of introductions, we should know where we are coming from. We have been dealing with the book of original entries. We will look at accounting records. We look at the basic accounting book. We add them into two basic categories: the subsidiary books and the principal book. And we said that the subsidiary books is split into two, and that's ledger. We look at the ledger is split into two, rather. We have the sales sales journal ledger. We have the purchases ledger, and all the ledgers are opened for each items in all the records. Now, the results of this ledger is to enable us extract a tri-balance. So, as the name implies, tri-balance is to try your balances, which you've had in the individual ledgers. So, tri-balance can be defined as a schedule or list that shows the debit and the credit balances extracted from the ledgers. So this will show the arithmetical accuracy of the ledgers, whether all those things, data and balances you have are actually being carried along. So the techniques ensure that debits and credit balances as displayed in the ledgers are compiled and carried along. The objectives is to prove the accuracy of the records. Although sometimes the accuracy may not avoid of some errors. All the ledgers accounts must be balanced off and then entered in the tri-balance. All the account or ledger account must be balanced. You can only balance them, and then those balances is extracted and then bring into tri-balance. Number two, uses of tri-balance. Why do you need tri-balance? What are the important, the aims, the objectives of preparing a tri-balance? Number one, the tri-balance helps the testing of accuracy of the double entry. Don't forget that principle that every debit entry must have a corresponding credit entry. It is in tri-balance that you test the accuracy or the compliance of this principle. So you will now test the accuracy of the double entry. And then number two, it helps in the preparation of the financial statement. This tri-balance is a state or is information channels that you need to use in preparing your own, the financial statements. So in the preparations of the tri-balance, all the ledgers account must be prepared, and the balances and the balance extracted and entered into the trial balance. That is to say, the totals of the debits and the credits must be equal because they will try their balances. When there's any difference between the two sides, then some errors must have been committed. Some errors must have been made. Number three, rules of trial balance. There are some principles you have to follow when you are preparing the trial balance in order to help you do the right things. I'm going to give you four rules you must follow. Four rules, and in fact, they are key. So please pay attention. What are the rules? Rule number one: all assets must be put on the debit side of trial balance. All assets must appear on the debit side of the trial balance. You have done that, and I show you categories of assets. And I told you that assets are what organization owned. It is what they use in generating other incomes. I mentioned them and itemized them. I show us types of assets. I show you the fixed asset, I show you the current asset, and the fixed asset can be called tangible asset. And also show you intangible asset. We'll illustrate this with examples. So all those assets in monetary terms must be debited in the trial balance. Rule number two, liabilities. All the liabilities must be credited or must be on the credit side of the trial balance. What are the liabilities? What organization owes? The owe people. So those items having these liabilities index must be treated on the credit side of the trial balance. Rule number three, all income or gain must be recorded on the credit side of the trial balance. All the incomes, all the gains you made must be on the credit side of the trial balance. Rule number four, all expenses must be recorded on the debit side of the trial balance. In a summary, we're saying that items of fixed, assets and expenses must appear on the debit side of your trial balance, while the items of liabilities and income and gain must be on the credit side of the trial balance. Now let's look at the nature, the format of trial balance. I don't have board here, but you can just pick your biro. Now go to a page of your paper. You're going to do this for me. We're going to have a kind of T, rule your horizontal lines. Are you there? Horizontal lines. Then under the horizontal lines, the first create three columns. The first column will be wider. The three columns, the first one will be wider. And that's where we're going to have the items. That's our description to show the items we are trying to bring into the trial balance. Then the second column, you put there the debits, DR. Then the last column is the credits. Put it there, credits. Like CR. So that means that you're having three columns there. The first column to enable us to put down the items, names, and the second one is our debit side, and why the last one is a credit side. Let's look at the items that must be recorded in each of the columns as we explained. The first one is capital. Under the first column, put the capital. Capital is the money, either money or the item, asset that the owners of the business put in to start up the business. So capital should be on the credit side. So you write the capital on the first column, then go to the last column where you have the CR credit, and then put the sign X sign along that capital. So that means that every item of capital should come under your credit side of the trial balance. Number two, plants and machinery. Plants and machinery is asset. So since the asset, it will come under debit. So along that plant and machinery, go to debit side and then put that sign, X sign, along that plant and machinery. Then um, another one is land and buildings, or you may call it freeholds, premises. That's asset now. So just follow it along there. Go to the debit side of your trial balance and put that sign X sign under there. Then the next one is the stock at the beginning, and that's what we call opening stock. The stock that you start business with for the year. Opening stock is asset. So go to that debit side along there, that go to that there, and then put that sign X. The next one is purchases. Purchases. These are the goods you buy to add to the stock that have been there to continue your business. So purchases comes under the debit side of your trial balance. Just follow it there, put that sign, X sign under that and along purchases. The next one is sales. Sale you are going to make from the purchases. And you know the sales will bring in incomes. So you go, you follow that sales, right sales, and then go to the last column where you have the debit now, then follow it and then asterisk it, put that star, X along there under the debit. Then the next one is rents, rents and rates. These are items of expenses, all the expenses. So since it is expenses, just follow it up, come to the debit side of the trial balance and put that sign X under that and along the next one is wages and salaries. It's also expenses. So follow it, they come to under debit side of that trial balance, then put that sign X there. Another one is adverts. You call it advertisements or the publicity, the money you spend in publicizing your business. So just follow there. That's expense now. Come to debit side and indicate there that sign S. And then another one is other expenses, sundry or miscellaneous expenses or whatever you want to call it there. Put it there, sundry expenses. Then come to that column D at the second columns, that is debit, and put it there, that sign there. And then the other one is cash at hand. The cash you have with you, cash you have with you. Cash is an asset. So you come under that debit side and then put that sign X. The next one is the overdrafts. What is overdrafts? Overdraft is that you draw more than what you have in the bank. So it's not you are actually owing. So it will come under the credit side. Just follow it up under the credit side. Just put that star X. Then the next one is the debtors and creditors. Debtors are the people who are expecting to collect money, while creditors are the people who are expected to pay. So debtors will be on your debit side of the trial balance. So follow it there. Debtors under the debit. Follow it on, put that sign X. While the creditors will be on the credit side, then you follow it up, put the X under there. Then the next one is the furnitures and fittings. It's also asset. I said, you know how way to treat it is on the debit side of the trial balance. So fold it and put that sign there, X. And then the next one is what we call bad debt. Bad debt is a debt that you are not expected to recover. You have been there for a long time, and either the person have died or some other things happen that you not even think of collecting it. Even if you collect later, but just something you don't think that you collect, is that bad debt. So bad debt should be on the credit side of your trial balance. So follow it there and put that signed X. And then also another one is that sometimes in organization they make provision in case this person will not pay, this company, this amount will not be paid. They then make some provisions. That provision should be entered on the credit side of the trial balance. Then the other one is depreciation. Depreciation. I told how to calculate depreciations and what depreciation is all about. Those that deductions from the fixed asset as a result of depreciations must be entered on the credit side of the trial balance. Then the other one is what we call carriage. Carriage. Carriage is the logistics you made, the transport you make in bringing in goods or taking goods to the final consumers. So the carriage outward is the one you used in taking goods out to the consumers. So that should be treated, entered under the debit side of your trial balance. And carriage inward is the one you paid in shifting your goods to your premises. All those things you add it to the cost of purchases. So that as to know what is the sum total of your purchases. So that carriage inward, it should be equally entered on the debit side of your trial balance. So put it there and put that signed X under there. Then the other one is returns. We have return outwards and return inward. We spend some time to talk about this when we're talking about the subsidiary books of accounts. So return outward should be treated, entered under the debit side of the expense the trial balance. While the other return inward, will be treated on the debit credit side of your trial balance. Then the other ones will be other expenses like transportations, the other transportation, administrative transportations, that should come because the expenses should come under the debit side of the trial balance. Just fold it and put it there. And the other ones also is what we call discount. I told us the two categories of discount: discount received and discount allowed. So discount received, if you have it in your ledger, should be posted to the credit side of your trial balance. While the discount allowed, if you have it, should be treated under the debit side of the trial balance. Then what about the drawings that the directors of the owner, the proprietors are made? That should equally be treated under the debit side of the trial balance. And then what do you call it? You are paying, you will receive loan, and you are paying some of the you are paying interest. Uh, that will be treated under the debit side of the trial balance. Now, when all these informations, all these figures and data are fixing, you can now have your balance. Check the two sides, debit and, in fact, it must be equal. Debit must be the same balance with the credit side. And now there is some things that you have to do. That there are some errors that might not be discovered even when the trial balance is okay. So the next one we're looking at errors not disclosed by the trial balance. These errors might not easily be disclosed, although those things, let me just mention about six of them, and I just run it through. There are six. Number one is errors of omission. Errors of omissions is when items is completely omitted from the debit and the credit side of the books. Both disappear either by omission. You wouldn't remember to pick them, and as long as it doesn't appear on the debit side of the account there, it will not also appear on the credit. So that one is totally and completely being omitted. So what do you need to do? Sometimes we need to give a kind of reflect back on our figures we carry. So that error is also very, very key. You might not disclose it or discover it in the trial balance unless you go back to do some thorough scanning. Then number two is error of commission. Error of commission. This occurs when an item is entered in a wrong person's account, a wrong personal account. This is not the person supposed to, but you already enter and then post it. It might not, unless you also have a kind of sober reflection. I mean, reflected, have some moment of reflections. Then number three is what we call errors of original entry. This error is when a wrong amount is entered on the debit and the credit side of the account. A wrong figure, a wrong amount is entered. Both sides entered, carry the figures. So you might not easily be discover it in the trial balance. So the trial balance will still be flowing. So that's what we call the error of original entry. Then number four is what we call error of complete reversal entry. Error of complete reversal entry. Here, the items entered on the wrong side of the account. And that is an example is an items to be debited has been credited and vice versa. It's supposed to be debited, but just you erroneously credit it and then also doing the same thing here. So they do that. You reverse the old entries. So that is another entry. It will not be discovered or disclosed in the trial balance. Number four or number five error is error of principle. This is when an item is entered in a wrong class of accounts. In a classification of accounts, you have to classify them into their segments and categories. But in a situation where it is wrongly classified, but then the figure is being carried, you may not spot it out. The tribunal might not even show it unless by coming back to check them. So that principle is also there. It's an error. Now, number six error is compensating errors. This occurs when errors cancel out each other. You have it here, you have it there, so you need it. So you may not know. The trial balance will not equally show. So please, and we need to look at this and then go through them so that when we come to solve the question we have at hand, because we have to carry all these embodiments to solve that questions I gave you in your lecture. So please, I'm happy to have you in this lecture today. So please, and there are series of our lectures in this channel. So always visit these channels to get more of this information. Thank you very much for having spare time and we share together. Happy listening. Bye for now.